I'm Amber Mitchell, 28, and until last month, I thought my dad Brian was my biggest supporter. When he lost his job, I didn't hesitate to help financially mortgage, insurance, groceries, I covered it all. We'd always been close, or so I believed. Then came that text from Uncle Robert. A video attachment. My finger trembled as I pressed play. There was my father, beer in hand, laughing with relatives. "We've got our little cash cow working her tail off in the city," he said about me. My world shattered instantly. Before I continue my story, let me know where you're watching from and hit that like and subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to hear how I discovered just how deep this betrayal went. Growing up in Westlake, a middle-class suburb outside of Cleveland, Ohio, I had what most would consider a picture-perfect family life. Our two-story colonial house on Maple Street was the site of neighborhood barbecues, holiday gatherings, and countless memories that I cherished deeply. My mom, Diane, worked as a part-time school secretary, while my dad, Brian, built his career as a sales manager for a manufacturing company. My younger sister, Jessica, and I never wanted for anything essential, though we weren't spoiled either. From my earliest memories, Dad was my hero. When I was 7, he built me a treehouse in our backyard, spending entire weekends perfecting it, while I handed him nails and watched in awe. During middle school, he drove me to every dance recital, sitting front row and recording each performance even though I was usually hidden in the back row. In high school, when I struggled with calculus, he stayed up late with me, learning the material himself just so he could help me study. "Amber, you've got the Mitchell determination," he'd tell me. "Nothing can stop you if you put your mind to it." That encouragement followed me to Ohio State University, where I studied marketing and business. Dad called me every Sunday without fail. When I landed an internship at a prestigious marketing firm in Columbus during my junior year, he drove 2 hours just to take me to dinner and celebrate. After graduation, when I received multiple job offers, he helped me create pros and cons lists for each opportunity. "Choose the one that challenges you, not just the one that pays the most," he advised. I took that wisdom to heart and accepted a position at a growing digital marketing agency in Chicago. For the first 5 years of my career, everything seemed to be going according to plan. I worked my way up from junior marketing associate to senior campaign manager, eventually landing a position as marketing director at one of Chicago's top agencies. My one-bedroom apartment in Lincoln Park wasn't luxurious, but it was mine: hardwood floors, a small balcony, and enough space for my modest collection of houseplants and books. I lived within my means, saved diligently, and felt proud of my independence. Then, 18 months ago, the call came that changed everything. "Sweetheart, I need to talk to you." Dad's voice sounded different that day, heavy, defeated. "The company is downsizing. After 23 years, they let me go." At 57, my father was suddenly unemployed. The severance package was minimal, he explained, and with their mortgage, car payments, and my mom's recent knee surgery, they were in serious financial trouble. They had some savings, but not enough to sustain them for more than a few months. "I'll find something else, of course," he assured me. "But the job market for someone my age, it might take some time." I didn't hesitate. "Dad, I can help. Tell me what you need." What started as a temporary arrangement quickly became a significant financial commitment. Their mortgage payment of $2,500 per month was their biggest expense. After losing his job, Dad lost his health insurance, so I added $800 monthly to cover both my parents on a decent plan. I set up weekly grocery deliveries costing around $500 per month, and sent extra whenever unexpected expenses arose: a plumbing issue, car repairs, property taxes. Every month, I transferred at least $4,000 to my parents' account. It stretched my budget thin, but I made it work by cutting my own expenses drastically. I canceled my gym membership, stopped ordering takeout, postponed a planned vacation, and moved to a smaller apartment in a less expensive neighborhood. Sometimes I ate ramen noodles for dinner so I could send them a little extra when my dad mentioned they were a bit short this month. Through it all, I kept a brave face during our weekly video calls. Dad always assured me he was applying for jobs, going on interviews, and networking with former colleagues. "Something will turn up soon," became his mantra. Mom would chime in about how proud they were of me and how grateful they felt for my help. Uncle Robert, my dad's younger brother, was often mentioned in these conversations. A perennial entrepreneur with a string of failed businesses, Robert had apparently fallen on hard times too. Dad mentioned lending him money occasionally, just to help him get back on his feet. I thought nothing of it at the time. My father had always been generous, and family helping family seemed natural to me. As months passed, I noticed small signs of strain in our relationship. Dad would sometimes seem distracted during our calls, or he'd change the subject when I asked about specific job prospects. Mom would look uncomfortable in the background. I attributed it to their stress and embarrassment over needing my help. After all, my father had always been proudly self-sufficient. By the 1-year mark of sending them money, I started to feel the financial pressure intensely. A promotion at work had helped, but supporting myself and my parents in an expensive city was taking its toll. I had dipped into my savings and postponed contributing to my 401k. Still, I reminded myself it was temporary. Dad would find work soon, and things would go back to normal. That's what I believed until last month, when everything changed. It was a Tuesday evening, and I was working late at the office, finishing a presentation for an important client meeting the next day. Around 10:30 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from Uncle Robert. This was unusual. We weren't particularly close, and he rarely contacted me directly. The message simply read, "Brian, check out this video from Sunday." Hilarious, with an attachment. I assumed he had texted me by mistake, meaning to send it to my dad. I was about to ignore it when curiosity got the better of me. I clicked play, unaware that the next 60 seconds would unravel everything I thought I knew about my family. The video began shakily, clearly shot by someone who'd had a few drinks. The setting was immediately familiar, my parents' living room, with its beige sectional sofa and the landscape paintings my mother loved. I could see a spread of food on the coffee table and hear laughter in the background. It appeared to be a casual family gathering, the kind I'd missed attending since moving to Chicago. The camera panned around, and I spotted my father sitting in his favorite recliner, a beer in one hand, looking more relaxed than I'd seen him in our recent video calls. Uncle Robert's voice came from behind the camera. "Brian, you should really start looking for work again. It's been, over a year now?" My father took a swig of his beer and chuckled. "Why bother? We've got our little cash cow working her tail off in the city." I felt like I'd been physically struck. The phone nearly slipped from my hand. My father, the man who had taught me about dignity and hard work, had just referred to me as their cash cow. My mother's voice chimed in from somewhere off camera. "Brian, don't talk like that." But her tone wasn't forceful. It sounded more like a half-hearted admonishment. Dad waved his hand dismissively. "Oh, come on, she doesn't mind. She's making 6 figures and has no life anyway. Might as well help the family." Laughter erupted from several people in the room. I recognized my Aunt Patricia's distinctive cackle and what sounded like Uncle Robert's deep guffaw behind the camera. The video continued for another 20 seconds with more casual conversation, but I couldn't focus on it. Blood rushed to my ears, and my vision blurred with tears. I rewound and replayed those devastating lines, hoping I'd somehow misheard or misunderstood. But there it was, plain as day, my father openly mocking me to the family while I struggled to support him. I sat frozen at my desk, the office empty around me, the blue light of my computer screen illuminating tears that now flowed freely down my face. My mind raced back through the past 18 months, the frugal lunches I'd packed while transferring money to their account, the night I'd spent in the emergency room with a severe migraine because I'd downgraded my own insurance plan to afford theirs, the promotion celebration I'd skipped because I couldn't afford to join my colleagues for dinner, all while my father joked about his cash cow. I played the video a third time, scrutinizing the background. That's when I noticed other details that made no sense. The expensive bottle of scotch on the side table, a brand that cost at least $200. My mother wearing what appeared to be a new dress and jewelry I didn't recognize. The glimpse of what looked like new patio furniture through the sliding door to the backyard. Where was this money coming from if they were struggling so badly that they needed thousands from me each month? A wave of nausea hit me as another memory surfaced. Just last week, during our Sunday call, Dad had enthusiastically told me about a promising interview with a logistics company. "I think this might be the one, Amber," he'd said, his expression earnest. The hiring manager seemed really impressed. Had that been a lie too? How long had he been deceiving me? I dialed Madison, my best friend since college and the only person who knew the full extent of my financial support for my parents. The call went to voicemail. "Madison, Something happened. Call me when you can. Please." My voice cracked on the last word. Unable to focus on work, I gathered my things and left the office. The normally short train ride to my apartment felt interminable. Fellow passengers probably thought I was drunk or heartbroken, given my red eyes and occasional silent tears. They weren't entirely wrong about the heartbroken part. My apartment, the smaller, less expensive one I'd moved to so I could send more money home, felt suffocating that night. I curled up on my bed, still in my work clothes, and replayed the video obsessively, looking for any indication that this was all a misunderstanding. There was none. I thought about calling my parents immediately but couldn't form the words. What would I even say? How do you ask your father why he's treating you like an ATM while mocking you behind your back? Sleep came in fitful bursts. My phone clutched tightly in my hand, as if it contained both the poison and the antidote to my pain. In those brief moments of consciousness throughout the night, one question kept surfacing. Who was this man that called himself my father? And how had I never seen his true nature until now? Morning arrived with harsh clarity. Sunlight streamed through the blinds I'd forgotten to close, illuminating my rumpled work clothes and the phone still clutched in my hand. The screen showed 3 missed calls from Madison. She must have seen my message after I'd finally fallen asleep. But before returning her calls, I knew exactly who I needed to speak with first. Not my father, I wasn't ready for that conversation yet, but Uncle Robert, the accidental messenger who had shattered my world. I took a shower, changed into fresh clothes, and called in sick to work for the first time in over 2 years. Then, sitting at my small kitchen table with a cup of coffee that I couldn't taste, I dialed Uncle Robert's number. He answered on the 4th ring, his voice groggy. "Hello? Uncle Robert, it's Amber." There was a pause, then a cautious, "Hey, Amber. What's up, everything okay? You sent me a video last night," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. "I think you meant to send it to my dad." The silence that followed lasted so long I thought he might have hung up. Then came a sharp intake of breath. Oh, God. Amber. That was. I didn't mean to. I saw it. Uncle Robert. All of it. The calm in my voice belied the storm inside me. I heard what Dad said about me. His cash cow. I saw everything. Amber, listen, your dad was just joking around. You know how he gets when he's had a few drinks. He didn't mean anything by it. Is that why he's been lying to me about looking for work? Was that a joke too? Another extended pause. What do you mean? In the video, you told him he should start looking for work again. That implies he hasn't been. But every week for 18 months, he's told me about jobs he's applying for, interviews he's going on. So which is it, Uncle Robert? Is he looking for work? Or has he been lying to me? Robert's sigh was heavy with resignation. Amber, Look, your dad. He's been struggling with the idea of starting over at his age. It's been hard on his pride. That doesn't answer my question. No, he hasn't been actively looking. Not really. He sent out some applications early on, but after a few rejections, he just stopped. The confirmation hit me like a physical blow, even though I'd already suspected it. And all of you knew? The whole family knew he was using me like this? It wasn't like that, Amber. We all thought it was temporary. And then time just passed. While I've been eating ramen noodles to save money and sending him thousands every month, my voice finally cracked. Tell me something, Uncle Robert. That golf bag I saw in the background of the video, is that new? His hesitation told me everything. He joined a country club, didn't he? The pieces were falling into place now. That's why he needed the extra money last month. Amber, please. It's not that simple. Actually, it is that simple. What else has he been spending my money on, Robert? Tell me. Perhaps it was the use of his first name without the uncle prefix, or maybe it was the steel in my voice, but something broke Robert's resistance. He and your mom have taken a few weekend trips. Nothing extravagant, just some time away. And yes, he joined Pine Ridge Country Club a few months ago, said he needed to network. What else? I demanded. He loaned me some money for my new business venture. His voice grew quiet. About $20,000. The room spun around me. $20,000. Money I had scrimped and saved to send them, believing they needed it for essentials. Did you know it was my money he was giving you? Not at first, Robert admitted. When I found out, I tried to give it back, but he wouldn't take it. Said you were doing fine and would never miss it. I laughed then, a hollow sound devoid of humor. I took on extra projects, moved to a smaller apartment, ate cheap food, postponed medical care, all while he was playing golf and lending out my money. Amber, I'm so sorry. I never meant for you to find out like this. So, you're sorry I found out, not sorry that it happened. I felt oddly calm now, a strange clarity descending. Tell me one more thing, Uncle Robert. Were you all laughing at me? At family gatherings, did you all sit around and joke about how gullible I am? No, Amber, it wasn't like that. Your dad. He's got issues, but most of us thought it was wrong. Your mom, too, she's been after him to tell you the truth. I didn't know whether to believe him. At this point, my trust in my family was completely broken. Don't tell him we spoke, I said finally. Don't warn him that I know. What are you going to do? Alarm colored his tone. I'm coming home this weekend. Unannounced. I want to see his face when I play that video for him. Amber, maybe you should cool down first. Think this through. I've been thinking it through all night, Uncle Robert, and now I need answers directly from him. I paused, then added, I'm guessing you don't want me to mention the $20,000 he gave you? His silence was confirmation enough. Don't worry, that's between you and him. But I suggest you start thinking about how you're going to pay it back. Because I guarantee you, after this weekend, the Bank of Amber is permanently closed. I ended the call before he could respond and sat staring at my phone for several long minutes. Then I opened my laptop and booked a one-way ticket to Cleveland for Saturday morning. It was time to face my father and uncover just how deep his deception went. The next 48 hours passed in a blur of purpose-driven activity. I called my boss, Susan, and requested emergency personal days for Thursday and Friday, explaining only that I had an urgent family situation. Having never taken time off frivolously, I was granted the leave without questions. Once that was settled, I began a methodical examination of my finances. Spreadsheets had always been my forte in marketing campaign management, and now I applied that skill to tracking every dollar I'd sent my parents over the 18 months since my father's job loss. The total made me physically ill. $76,340. More than half my after-tax income during that period. I dug deeper, creating a detailed timeline of my father's supposed job search. Each time he'd mentioned an interview or promising lead, I marked it on the calendar. Each request for a little extra this month for some supposedly essential expense, the water heater that broke, the roof that leaked, my mother's medication I highlighted in red. Patterns emerged that I should have seen earlier. The requests for extra money often came right before holidays or long weekends. Madison finally came over Wednesday evening, armed with takeout and a bottle of wine. I've been calling you non-stop, she said, pulling me into a tight hug. Why didn't you answer? I've been busy. I gestured to my laptop, and the sea of financial documents spread across my coffee table. She examined my work with growing alarm. Amber, this is. I don't even know what to say. You can say, I told you so, I replied, pouring us each a generous glass of wine. You never trusted him. Madison had indeed voiced concerns about the ongoing financial support. 6 months in, she'd gently suggested my father might be taking advantage of my generosity. I'd defended him vehemently then, insisting he was just struggling with his age and the tough job market. I didn't want to be right, she said quietly. Not about this. We spent hours reviewing everything together. Madison, a forensic accountant by profession, approached the situation with analytical precision that complemented my emotional investigation. Have you checked their social media? She asked. People can't help but show off, even when they're supposed to be broke. It hadn't occurred to me to look there. My mother was fairly active on Facebook, but I rarely checked it. Now, with Madison beside me, I scrolled through months of posts. What I found left me speechless. Photos of my parents at expensive restaurants. My mother sporting new jewelry. A weekend trip to Cancun in March that they'd never mentioned. And most damning of all, a photo of my father on a golf course, tagged at Pine Ridge Country Club, dated just 2 weeks after he'd told me they were struggling to pay the electric bill. That membership costs at least $5,000 a year, Madison whispered, clearly recognizing the exclusive club. I kept scrolling, the evidence mounting. My father's brother-in-law congratulating him on the new wheels, a comment on a photo that carefully showed only part of what appeared to be a new car. My cousin tagging my parents at a concert for which tickets had been notoriously expensive and hard to obtain. "I've been such a fool," I whispered. "No, Amber, you've been a good daughter. They're the ones who should be ashamed." I continued my investigation the next day, reviewing credit card statements my father had forwarded to me when asking for help with payments. Now I scrutinized the charges instead of blindly paying the balance. Purchases at high-end department stores. Multiple charges at liquor stores for amounts that suggested expensive bottles. A charge from a jewelry store the week before Mother's Day, a holiday for which my father had called to apologetically explain they couldn't afford to send me even a card. The deeper I dug, the worse it got. I discovered my father had told various relatives I was helping the entire family financially. My Aunt Linda apparently believed I was covering her son's college textbooks. My cousin Peter thought I was helping with his car payments. It seemed my father had positioned himself as the distributor of my generosity, taking credit for helping relatives with money that actually came from me, some of which never reached those relatives at all. The final piece of evidence came from an unexpected source. While checking my email, I noticed a message from a forwarding service I'd set up for my old apartment. They'd received a physical letter for me from Lakeside Community College, a local school near my parents' home. Curious, I called the college directly. "Yes, Miss Mitchell, we sent you a receipt for your generous donation to our scholarship fund. The $5,000 from you and your parents will help several students this fall." I thanked the administrator and hung up, too stunned to correct the misunderstanding. My father had apparently made a donation in our family's name using my money, without my knowledge likely to gain social standing in the community. As Friday evening approached, I packed a small overnight bag for my trip to Cleveland. My emotions had cycled through shock, grief, and rage, finally settling into a cold determination. I rehearsed what I would say, trying to prepare for my father's likely excuses and deflections. Before bed, I printed out the most damning evidence. The timeline, the social media posts, the credit card statements. I wrote down the questions I needed answered, knowing that in the heat of confrontation, it would be easy to get sidetracked by emotions. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my father's face in that video, casually dismissing my struggles while calling me a cash cow. By the time my alarm went off at 5 a.m. for my early flight, I was already awake, staring at the ceiling, mentally preparing for the confrontation that would forever change my relationship with my family. The taxi dropped me off in front of my parents' house at 11:23 a.m. on Saturday. Standing on the sidewalk, I noticed details I'd overlooked during previous visits. The new landscaping with mature plants that must have cost thousands, the paver stone walkway that had replaced the concrete one, the expensive-looking patio furniture visible in the backyard, all purchased while I skipped meals to send them money. My hands trembled slightly as I rolled my small suitcase up the driveway. I hadn't told anyone I was coming, not my parents, not my sister, no one. The element of surprise was crucial. I needed to see their unfiltered reactions. I rang the doorbell and waited, my heart pounding. The door swung open to reveal my mother, her expression shifting rapidly from casual curiosity to shock. "Amber, what are you? We had no idea you were coming." She pulled me into a hug that I didn't return, my arms hanging limply at my sides. "Surprise," I said flatly. "Brian," she called over her shoulder. "Look who's here." My father appeared from the direction of the kitchen, a sandwich in hand, wearing the relaxed smile of a man without worries. His eyes widened at the sight of me. "Amber, This is unexpected. He set his sandwich down and moved to embrace me. I stepped back, avoiding his touch. A flicker of confusion crossed his face. Everything okay, sweetheart? Is Jessica here? I asked, referring to my younger sister. No, she's out with friends for the weekend, my mother replied, her eyes darting between my father and me, clearly sensing the tension. Good. Because this conversation should be private. I rolled my suitcase into the living room, the same room where the video had been recorded, and took a seat on the sofa. My parents exchanged glances before following me. Amber, what's going on? My father asked, his tone shifting to concern. I received something interesting a few days ago, I said, pulling out my phone. A video that Uncle Robert accidentally sent me. I think he meant to send it to you, Dad. My father's expression remained puzzled, but something flickered in my mother's eyes. Recognition. Then, fear. What video? He asked. Without answering, I pressed play and held the phone out where they both could see it. The sound of laughter filled the room, followed by Uncle Robert's voice. Brian, you should really start looking for work again. Then came my father's fateful words. Why bother? We've got our little cash cow working her tail off in the city. I watched my father's face as he heard his own voice. Saw the exact moment realization dawned. His complexion paled visibly. She doesn't mind, continued his recorded voice. She's making 6 figures and has no life anyway. Might as well help the family. I stopped the video and the room fell into heavy silence. My mother had her hand over her mouth, tears already forming in her eyes. My father sat completely still, a statue of a man caught in an unforgivable act. Amber, he finally said. That wasn't. I didn't. Didn't what, Dad? Didn't mean it? Didn't think I'd find out? Which part exactly are you denying? He shifted uncomfortably. You're taking it completely out of context. It was just guys talking, having a few beers. You know how people exaggerate and joke around. Is that your defense? That humiliating me in front of our entire family was just a joke? It wasn't the entire family. He protested weakly. I laughed. A harsh sound devoid of humor. That's what you're concerned about? The attendance list? Amber, please. My mother interjected. Your father didn't mean... Don't, Mom, don't defend him. I turned back to my father. Uncle Robert told me you haven't been looking for work at all. That was a lie too, wasn't it? All those interviews you told me about, all those promising leads, none of it was real. My father's expression hardened. Robert had no right to discuss our private affairs. So it's true. You've been lying to me for 18 months while I sent you over $76,000 of my hard-earned money. His eyes widened at the specific figure. I pulled out the spreadsheets I'd prepared and placed them on the coffee table. That's right, Dad. I did the math. $76,340. Money I thought was keeping you from losing the house or going without health insurance. Money I sacrificed my own well-being to send you. My voice cracked slightly, but I pushed on. Meanwhile, you joined a country club, took vacations, bought new furniture, donated to the community college in our family name. You've been spying on us? My father's tone shifted to indignation, attempting to flip the narrative. No, Dad, I've been opening my eyes. Something I should have done months ago. Amber, we appreciate everything you've done, he said, changing tactics. But after all we did for you growing up, the dance lessons, the college tuition, is it really so wrong for parents to accept help from their successful daughter? The audacity of his response stunned me momentarily. Help is one thing, Dad. Exploitation is another. You didn't accept help, you manipulated me with lies about your circumstances while mocking me behind my back. And for the record, I worked through college and took out student loans that I just finished paying off last year. You contributed to my freshman year only. My mother began sobbing quietly. I told you this was wrong, Brian. I told you we needed to be honest with her. You knew, I said, turning to her. You sat there every week during our video calls and watched him lie to my face. And you said nothing. I was afraid, she whispered. Afraid of what would happen if the money stopped coming. The money has definitely stopped, I assured her. As of this moment, I will never give either of you another dollar. My father's demeanor changed instantly, the defensive indignation giving way to calculated panic. Amber, let's not be hasty. We can work this out. I admit I should have been more forthcoming about certain things, but we do need your help. The mortgage is not my responsibility. I finished for him. Neither is your golf membership or whatever else you've been spending my money on. You're going to throw away our relationship over money? He asked incredulously. After everything this family has been through together? I'm not throwing away anything, Dad. You did that when you decided to exploit my love for you. When you called me a cash cow and laughed about it with relatives. When you took advantage of my trust and generosity, I stood up, gathering my spreadsheets and phone. I've sacrificed so much for you. I moved to a smaller apartment. I ate ramen noodles for dinner multiple nights a week. I skipped medical appointments because I downgraded my insurance to afford yours. I declined promotions that would have required travel because I couldn't afford both the travel expenses and supporting you. My father's eyes darted to my mother, then back to me, calculation evident in his expression. Amber, everyone goes through rough patches. Families support each other. That's what family is about, being there for each other, through thick and thin. Is that what you were doing when you donated $5,000 to the community college in our family name without telling me? Being there for me? He had no response to that. I'm staying at the Holiday Inn tonight, I said, picking up my suitcase. I'll be flying back to Chicago tomorrow. I've arranged for all automatic transfers to your accounts to stop immediately. The mortgage payment for this month has already gone through, so you have 30 days to figure out your next steps. You can't just cut us off like this. My father exploded, his face reddening. After everything we've done for you, what exactly have you done for me lately, Dad, except lie and take advantage of me? This is how you treat family? We raised you better than this. I paused at the door, looking back at him. You're right. You did raise me better than this. You raised me to work hard, to be honest, to take responsibility for myself. Somewhere along the way, you forgot your own lessons. My mother rushed forward. Amber, please don't go like this. We can talk about it more. Your father will apologize. It's too late for apologies, Mom. The trust is gone. I looked at my father, who was now pacing the room, his expression thunderous. Dad, you have MBA-level skills in finance and sales. You could have found work if you'd actually looked. Instead, you chose to exploit your daughter and call her a cash cow behind her back. You'll regret this, he called as I opened the door. Family is everything, Amber. You don't turn your back on family. No, Dad, I replied calmly. You don't exploit family. You don't mock them behind their backs. You don't steal from them under false pretenses. That's what you did to me. And I'm done. I walked out, closing the door on my father's continuing protests. As I wheeled my suitcase down the driveway toward the waiting Uber, I felt simultaneously hollowed out and somehow lighter. The family I thought I had was gone, perhaps had never existed as I'd imagined it. But for the first time in 18 months, I was no longer carrying their financial and emotional burdens on my shoulders. The fallout was swift and explosive. By the time my plane landed in Chicago the next day, my phone contained 37 missed calls, 23 voicemails, and over 50 text messages from various family members. My father's communications cycled between rage and manipulation. The first voicemail captured his initial fury. How dare you walk out like that? After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? By abandoning your family when we need you? 3 hours later, his tone had shifted dramatically. Amber, sweetheart, I'm sorry if what I said in that video hurt your feelings. I was just joking around with the guys. You know how men talk. Please call me back so we can discuss this rationally. By evening, he had moved to threats. If you think you can just cut us off without consequences, you're sadly mistaken. What will your sister think when she hears you've abandoned your family? What will your friends think? Is this really the reputation you want? My mother's messages were consistently tearful and pleading. Amber, please answer your phone. Dad didn't mean those things. We love you so much. I don't know how we'll manage without your help. Please don't do this to us. Uncle Robert attempted to position himself as a neutral mediator. Amber, I understand you're upset, and you have every right to be. But maybe we can find some middle ground here? Your parents are devastated. After sorting through the barrage, I made a difficult decision. I blocked my father's number. The constant oscillation between anger, fake apologies, and manipulation was too toxic to endure. For my mother, I sent a brief text. "Mom, I need space right now. I'll contact you when I'm ready to talk." For the next week, the messages continued from extended family members, each taking sides in a conflict they only partially understood. My Aunt Patricia, always close to my father, called to berate me for my selfishness and lack of family loyalty. My cousin Thomas, who had apparently been told I was financing his car payments, I wasn't, demanded to know why I was cutting everyone off. The most painful conversation came from my sister Jessica, who called me in tears after returning from her weekend away to find our parents in crisis. "How could you do this, Amber?" she demanded, her voice breaking. "Dad says you've completely abandoned them financially without any warning." "Did Dad tell you why?" I asked calmly. "He said you saw some stupid video where he made an inappropriate joke and you completely overreacted." Jessica, that inappropriate joke, was Dad calling me their cash cow and laughing about how I have no life while he spends my money. Did he mention he hasn't been looking for work this entire time? Or that he joined a golf club? Or took Mom to Cancun? Silence followed. "What are you talking about?" I spent the next hour explaining everything to my sister, the video, the evidence I'd gathered, the confrontation. Jessica, 6 years younger and still in graduate school, had been kept largely in the dark about family finances. "I had no idea," she finally said, her voice small. "Dad told me they were struggling but managing on their retirement savings. He never mentioned you were paying for everything. And now you understand why I can't continue." It wasn't just the financial drain, Jess. It was the betrayal. After our conversation, Jessica texted me that she'd confronted our parents with what I'd told her. My father had exploded in anger, while my mother had broken down in tears, confirming everything. Jessica apologized for doubting me and promised to stay in touch, though she was still living at home and caught in the middle of the conflict. The strain affected every aspect of my life. At work, I struggled to concentrate, making uncharacteristic mistakes in campaign reports. My sleep was disturbed by stress dreams where I repeatedly discovered new betrayals. I lost weight as my appetite diminished, and dark circles appeared under my eyes. Madison became my rock during this period, checking on me daily, and sometimes simply sitting with me in silence when words failed. "You're grieving," she told me one evening as we shared takeout at my apartment. "Not just the loss of financial resources, but the loss of the family you thought you had." She was right. What hurt most wasn't the money, though $76,000 was certainly significant, but the shattering of trust and the revelation that my father viewed me as a resource to exploit rather than a daughter to cherish. 2 weeks after the confrontation, I received a call from Paula Henderson, a family friend I'd known since childhood. Her tone was hesitant, concerned. "Amber, I hope I'm not overstepping, but I thought you should know. Your father's been telling people you had some kind of breakdown. He's saying you've become paranoid and delusional, cutting off your family for imagined slights." My hand tightened around the phone. "He's saying what?" "I didn't believe it," Paula hurried to add. "It didn't sound like the Amber I know. But he's been very convincing, telling everyone how worried he is about your mental health. Some people are believing him." This new attempt to discredit me instead of taking responsibility hit me hard. My father was trying to control the narrative by painting me as unstable, rather than admitting his own manipulative behavior. "Thank you for telling me, Paula," I said, my voice steady despite my inner turmoil. "Dad's lying, but I appreciate you giving me the chance to tell my side." I explained the situation briefly, and Paula expressed her support. I had a feeling something wasn't right with his story. "You've always been one of the most level-headed people I know." After that call, more relatives began reaching out directly not to berate me, but to ask for money. With my father's financial pipeline cut off, they turned to the source. My cousin Peter called about help with car payments. My Aunt Linda inquired about textbook money for her son. Each conversation revealed another layer of my father's deception, as I explained that while I had been supporting my parents, I had never agreed to help the extended family. By the 1-month mark, I was emotionally exhausted. Just as I thought things might be calming down, I received a particularly manipulative message from my mother. Your father is having chest pains from all this stress. If anything happens to him, I hope you can live with yourself. For a moment, panic and guilt washed over me. What if he was seriously ill? What if my actions had caused a health crisis? Madison helped me see through the manipulation. This is emotional blackmail, Amber, she said firmly. If he's genuinely ill, they should call an ambulance, not guilt trip you. They're trying to regain control over you through fear. I didn't respond to the message, but I did call my sister to check if our father was actually ill. She confirmed he was fine and had played golf that very morning. The manipulation was brazen and cruel, designed to exploit my care for them, the very quality they had already taken advantage of for 18 months. It was this final attempt at emotional blackmail that crystallized my resolve. I would not be drawn back into their web of deceit, no matter what tactics they employed. The Bank of Amber was permanently closed, and no amount of guilt, anger, or manipulation would reopen it. 6 weeks after the confrontation, I hit rock bottom. The constant emotional bombardment from family members, combined with the stress at work and poor sleep, culminated in a panic attack during a client presentation. In the middle of explaining a marketing strategy, my heart began racing. My vision narrowed to a pinpoint, and I couldn't catch my breath. I excused myself hastily and collapsed in the women's restroom, gasping for air while a concerned colleague called for help. My boss insisted I take a week off and recommended a therapist, Dr. Rachel Thompson. I was resistant initially. I'd always prided myself on handling problems independently, but I recognized I needed help processing the trauma of my family's betrayal. Dr. Thompson's office was a calm space with soft lighting and comfortable seating. During our first session, she listened attentively as I recounted the entire story, from my father's job loss to the video revelation to the ongoing fallout. Amber, what you're experiencing is a form of financial trauma, she explained gently. Combined with the betrayal by people you trusted implicitly, it's created a perfect storm of psychological distress. Over several sessions, we began unpacking not just the recent events, but patterns that had existed in my family for years. I came to recognize my tendency toward people-pleasing and my deep-seated need for approval, particularly from my father. Your father recognized these traits in you and exploited them, Dr. Thompson observed during our third session. That doesn't make you weak or gullible. It makes him manipulative. We explored childhood memories that took on new meaning in light of recent events. The time my father praised me effusively for giving my savings to my sister when she wanted a new bike. The way he'd emphasized how special I was whenever I sacrificed for the family. The pattern of using emotional validation as a reward for financial or personal sacrifice. You were trained from childhood to derive your self-worth from what you could provide to others, Dr. Thompson explained. It's a common dynamic in families with narcissistic tendencies. The therapy sessions were painful but illuminating. I began to see how my father's influence had shaped not just my relationship with him, but with everyone in my life. I found myself apologizing constantly to friends, overcommitting to work projects, and feeling crushing guilt whenever I prioritized my own needs. Setting boundaries isn't selfish became Dr. Thompson's mantra for me. It's necessary for healthy relationships. Outside of therapy, practical problems mounted. My financial situation, while not dire, required significant adjustment now that I was focused solely on rebuilding my own security. I met with a financial advisor who helped me create a recovery plan. But it would take years to replace what I'd given away. At work, my performance suffered noticeably. My boss, Susan, called me into her office after a particularly unfocused meeting. Amber, what's going on? This isn't like you at all. I hesitated, then decided honesty was best. I gave her a condensed version of the situation. Susan's expression shifted from concern to indignation on my behalf. Amber, why didn't you say something sooner? We have an employee assistance program specifically for situations like this. She connected me with additional resources, including legal advice about potential financial recovery options and a support group for people who had experienced similar family financial exploitation. Her support touched me deeply and helped alleviate some of the isolation I'd been feeling. The panic attacks continued, though less frequently as therapy progressed. The worst episode came when I encountered a colleague's father in the office lobby one day. Something about his mannerisms, the confident stance, the authoritative tone triggered such a severe reaction that I had to escape to my car, where I sat trembling for nearly an hour. Through it all, Madison remained my steadfast support, bringing dinner when I couldn't muster the energy to cook, accompanying me to therapy when requested, and simply listening without judgment. "I feel so stupid," I confessed to her one evening. "How did I not see what was happening?" $76,000, Madison. I gave them $76,000 while they laughed at me behind my back. You're not stupid, Amber. You're trusting and generous qualities that should be celebrated, not exploited. The shame belongs to them, not you. 8 weeks after the confrontation, an unexpected email arrived from my mother. Unlike her previous communications, this one contained no emotional manipulation or pleas for reconciliation. Instead, it was a straightforward confession. "Amber, I've moved out of the house and am staying with my sister. I can no longer participate in the deception that has hurt you so deeply. Your father refused to acknowledge the wrong we did to you, and I can't live with the guilt anymore. I found a job as an office manager at a local dental practice and am trying to stand on my own 2 feet for the first time in decades. I don't expect your forgiveness, but I wanted you to know I'm trying to make changes." I shared the email with Dr. Thompson, uncertain how to respond. "This appears to be a positive step," she observed cautiously. "But proceed carefully. Real change takes time and consistent effort." I drafted a brief, neutral response, acknowledging her message and wishing her well in her new job, but maintaining my boundaries about financial support and immediate reconciliation. It was the first communication with my mother that didn't leave me feeling drained or manipulated. The final turning point came from an unexpected quarter. While having coffee with Madison near my office, I ran into Lawrence Peterson, who had worked with my father at his former company. "Amber, it's been years. How are you? How's your father doing these days?" The question sent a familiar jolt of anxiety through me, but I managed a non-committal response. Something in my expression must have revealed my discomfort, because Lawrence's friendly smile faded. "I hope I'm not opening a sore subject," he said carefully. "I know the circumstances of his departure were complicated." "Complicated?" I repeated, confused. "I thought it was a downsizing." Lawrence looked genuinely surprised. "Is that what he told you?" "Amber, your father wasn't laid off. He was asked to resign after an internal audit found irregularities in his department's expense reporting. The company gave him the option to leave quietly rather than face a formal investigation. I assumed you knew." The revelation was like a final puzzle piece clicking into place. My father hadn't been a victim of corporate downsizing or age discrimination. He had likely committed financial improprieties and chosen early retirement over potential consequences. The entire premise of his need for my support had been built on yet another lie. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, processing this final betrayal. But instead of triggering another breakdown, I found the revelation strangely freeing. It confirmed that my decision to cut financial ties was not just necessary for my own well-being, but completely justified given the web of deception my father had constructed. For the first time since discovering the video, I slept through the night without nightmares. The next morning, I looked in the mirror and made a promise to myself. No more cash cow Amber. From now on, I choose me. 6 months after discovering the video that changed everything, I stand in my new apartment, unpacking the last of my boxes. It's smaller than what I could afford, a deliberate choice as I rebuild my savings, but it's in a neighborhood I love, with a small balcony where I've already started an herb garden. Most importantly, it's mine, paid for with money I earn and spend according to my own priorities. The healing journey has been neither quick nor linear. There have been setbacks, moments of crushing guilt when I learned my parents had to downsize their home, days of anger when yet another family lie came to light, nights of questioning my decision despite all evidence supporting it. But there has also been profound growth. Through continued therapy with Dr. Thompson, I've developed a toolkit for managing anxiety and setting healthy boundaries. I've learned to recognize the early signs of people-pleasing behavior and redirect that energy toward genuine reciprocal relationships. My relationship with my mother has evolved into something I never expected. True to her email, She has maintained her independence, working full-time and sharing an apartment with another divorced woman her age. We speak occasionally brief, careful conversations that avoid the topics of money and my father. She has respected my boundaries and never asked for financial support, which has allowed a fragile trust to begin rebuilding. My father is a different story. After multiple attempts at manipulation failed, he finally requested a meeting 3 months ago. We met at a coffee shop neutral territory where he presented what he called an apology, though it contained numerous justifications and attempts to minimize his actions. I may have exercised poor judgment, he conceded reluctantly, but everything I did was for the family. No, Dad, I replied calmly. It was for you. You used me to maintain a lifestyle you couldn't afford, lied repeatedly about looking for work, and mocked me behind my back. Those aren't actions done for my benefit. He left angry, insisting I was being unforgiving and holding a grudge. I let him go without argument, recognizing that true reconciliation would require genuine accountability, which he seemed incapable of offering. Professionally, I've found my footing again. The panic attacks have subsided, and my performance at work has rebounded to its previous level and beyond. Last month, I accepted a promotion to Senior Marketing Director, a position that came with a substantial raise and increased responsibility. The additional income is going directly into rebuilding my emergency fund and retirement savings. Perhaps the most significant change has been in my personal relationships. I've become more discerning about who I allow into my inner circle, valuing authenticity over easy approval. Madison remains my closest friend, but I've also developed new friendships through a financial recovery support group Dr. Thompson recommended. In that group, I met others who had experienced similar exploitation by family members, some to a far greater extent than mine. Sharing our stories and recovery strategies has been tremendously healing, transforming my shame into purpose. I've even started teaching a monthly financial literacy workshop at a local community center, helping others recognize and avoid the patterns of financial abuse I experienced. My sister Jessica and I have maintained our relationship, though it requires careful navigation. She completed her graduate program and moved to Boston for a job, creating some healthy distance from our parents. We speak weekly, with the understanding that our parents are not a primary topic of conversation. The financial impact of my father's exploitation will affect me for years to come. The $76,000 I sent them represented not just the cash value, but opportunity costs in terms of career advancement, retirement savings, and quality of life. My financial advisor estimates it will take approximately 5 years to fully recover, assuming I maintain my current saving rate. But the emotional recovery, while ongoing, has already yielded unexpected gifts. I've discovered a resilience I never knew I possessed. I've learned that saying no doesn't make me selfish, or unloving it makes me a person with healthy boundaries. I've realized that genuine family support flows in all directions, not just from adult children to parents who have means but choose exploitation instead. Most importantly, I've reclaimed my sense of self-worth. No longer do I measure my value by what I can provide to others or how much I'm willing to sacrifice. My worth exists independently of what anyone, including my father, thinks of me. If my story resonates with you, please know you're not alone. Family financial exploitation is surprisingly common, but rarely discussed openly due to shame and social taboos. Whether you're currently in a situation like mine was, have experienced something similar in the past, or are concerned about someone you care about, breaking the silence is the first step toward healing. I'd love to hear your experiences or thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever felt pressured to financially support family members beyond your means? Did you discover they were misusing your generosity? How did you handle it? Your story might help someone else recognize patterns they're missing in their own life. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content about setting healthy boundaries and recovering from family trauma. If this story helped you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. Remember, being generous doesn't mean allowing yourself to be exploited. True family supports your growth, celebrates your success, and would never mock you behind your back while taking advantage of your kindness. You deserve relationships built on mutual respect and genuine love, not manipulation and deception. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do, both for yourself and ultimately for others, is to close the bank of you and redirect those resources toward building the healthy, fulfilling life you deserve. Thank you for listening to my story. I'm Amber Mitchell, and I'm no one's cash cow anymore.